everyone, it's the Hockey Bros. Welcome back to the 2018-19 NHL season. Today I'm going to be doing a general season prediction video on where I think teams are and how I think they'll do. No playoffs, this is just regular season. As you can see, the jerseys I have around me, I'll be displaying my jersey collection. So as you can see, we're starting with the Pacific Division. So guys, I'm going to start with the Anaheim Ducks and the Arizona Coyotes. I'll do it in pairs. So the Anaheim Ducks have a lot to prove this year. It could be the last chance they could contend with Ryan Getzlaf and Corey Perry and Ryan Kessler. Obviously, Corey Perry is injured for 5 months. A loss, although Corey Perry hasn't been the Corey Perry from years ago in the past 2 seasons, so it doesn't affect them as much as I think some people think it will. Interesting, they're starting with 6 rookies in their lineup. That should bring a lot of promise and hopefully hopefully these rookies will be the future, and I think that they will be, especially guys like Sam Steele, Max Comtois, and Troy Terry are the future of Anaheim. And I'm looking forward to seeing them play tonight, actually, and we'll see how they do. So that's Anaheim Ducks. I see them contending for a wild card spot. They're not going to be in the top 3 spot, I don't think. I am a Ducks fan, by the way. That's why I have 2 of their jerseys. But I don't see them being in the top 3 spot. There's so many. The Pacific is so competitive this year. It's going to be so tough for them. But I do think that they could contend for a wild card spot. And next, I'll go to the Arizona Coyotes. They're not going to make the playoffs. I still think they're going to be better this year because they have a lot of young promise on their team. Again, guys like Clayton Keller. I mean, that guy had a great year last year. They picked up Alex Galchenyuk from Max Domi. See if that trade helps them out. I think it will. I don't think that they're going to compete for a playoff spot, but I do think that they will be better. I don't think they're going to be the worst in the division, and that's where I'm going to go to the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks this is the tank year. I mean, haven't all the years been tank years, but yeah, this is the tank year again. They lost Henrik and Daniel Sedin. They're working to rebuild, although they do have a guy to build around, and that is Brock Besser. Brock Besser is a great example of how these teams like the Vancouver Canucks can get good again. You get these young players in these drafts, they stockpile them like the Oilers did. If the Oilers would have only kept Taylor Hall, I'm sure that they would be contending for a Stanley Cup right now. Hands down, 100%. There's no way that... I think that they might even be the top. They would be better than San Jose if they kept Taylor Hall, let's just be honest. But anyway, yeah, Arizona not going to contend for a spot. I do see them being better this year. Vancouver, what can I say? I do predict them to be worse in the division. I'm going to say that right now. No offense, but this is the year where this is the tank year. I think that they'll do well in the draft lottery, though. But yeah, they need to build around Brock Besser. It's just great player. I think that he's the future of the Canucks right now. And we'll move on. We'll go to the Alberta teams, Edmonton and Calgary. Both these teams... Edmonton was in the playoffs two seasons ago, lost in Game 7 to the Ducks. The Calgary Flames also in the playoffs 2 years ago, lost in first round to the Ducks. Seems like they have a Duck problem. But anyway, Edmonton, when you have Connor McDavid, this team needs to use him correctly. And I think that they're going to be better this year. I don't see them getting worse than they were last year. That's just not going to happen. But I don't think that they're going to be the Oilers playoff team that they need to be. They don't have quite enough to work around him, and that's why I say they're not going to make the playoffs. They could be competitive, but I don't think they're going to make it. Same thing with Calgary. I think Calgary will be a little bit better than Edmonton. They picked up James Neal. They shipped off Dougie Hamilton. They got another defensive from Carolina. I think it was Hannafin, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, they look pretty good this season. They did get a new coach. I see them possibly contending. But there's so many good teams in the Pacific. It's really hard to tell who's contending for a spot and who's not. But I could tell you that another one of these teams, kind of with the Ducks and the Flames, is the Los Angeles Kings. The Los Angeles Kings picked up Ila Kovalchuk over the offseason. I see this as a kind of risky move. He's 34, 35. left the NHL. He hasn't been in the NHL. He's been playing in KHL in Russia. Ilya Kovalchuk still has a lot of scoring touch. I think he's still going to have his scoring touch. I don't think he's going to be a 30-goal scorer, but I do think he could at least score 20 goals. But I don't see him scoring anywhere. I don't see him scoring near 30 at all. I mean, it's just not going to happen. 20 at most. I mean, there's just so many things about his game, though, that I still see him scoring around 20. He's still a really good player. So anyway, yeah, the Kings, Dustin Brown is also out for the start of the season with a broken finger. I don't know. But I see them being a team that can compete for a spot as well. And that will move me on to, I think we've gone through Ducks, Coyotes, Canucks. Oh, Vegas. We're going to go to Vegas. Okay. So the Vegas Golden Knights had a great year last year. They went to the Stanley Cup final. Blew my mind. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, all these guys. I mean, I knew that they had some good players. I knew they had Jonathan Marchessault. He's a 30-goal scorer. I know they had James Neal, another great player when I watched him in Nashville. I mean, I just saw all these guys not coming together that well. And then Marc-Andre Fleury I knew that, he could carry a team, but I didn't think he even got injured. They had like an ECHL goalie being played. So that's tough. And still they found out a way to win. And I seriously think that team works really well together. And I don't think that last year was a fluke. I think that I don't think they're going to get as many points as last year, but I do think that they're going to contend for a playoff spot in the top 3. I think that I'm going to say that they finished second in the division just because there's one more team that is a superpower, and I think that they will get first, and that is the San Jose Sharks. The San Jose Sharks picked up Erik Karlsson over the offseason. Just phenomenal pickup. I mean, it's Erik Karlsson. That's all I could say, really. I mean, they already had good defense, and they literally just traded a third-line center for Erik Karlsson and some draft picks. So I think that San Jose really won this trade on one condition. As long as Erik Karlsson signs there, they're good. The risk about this trade is that this could be a 1-year rental. And actually the Ducks talked about how they could have gone out and gotten him. And I was surprised when I heard what he got traded for, because I was like, the Ducks had way more to offer than that. And it really came down to the Ducks general manager, Bob Murray, saying, I don't want this guy as a 1-year rental. And I guess the San Jose Sharks are in win now mode, and they believed that maybe they could sign him. Or maybe they're just saying, hey, we'll take the risk. We want to go out and win the cup. And I think that that's the message that they're sending to the league right now. They're serious. They want to win. And I do see them being first in the division. I mean, it's just, this team is a super team. And, when you have Joe Pavelski, Joe Thornton, and then you have that awesome offensive-minded defenseman pairing, Brent Burns and Erik Karlsson, your scoring is just going to be unbelievable. I mean, I just don't see this team getting anywhere. Like, they're almost guaranteed in the playoffs for me. I mean, I don't see them not making the playoffs. Just, I don't. I mean, I think they're going to be number 1 in the division. They're going to win the division this year. So I'm going to go with my standings real quick. So we have 8 teams in the Pacific. I hope I went over 8, but I'll probably find out if I didn't. So number 1, we have San Jose. Number 2, I'm going to go with Vegas. Number 3, this one is a little bit tough, but I'm going to say Anaheim Ducks, just because, I mean, I think that they could still be a really good team this year. They're going to get worse next year if they don't make some moves. But I still see them a top 3 team, possibly. In the wild card, let's assume that one central team makes it. So we'll put the Los Angeles Kings in that wild card spot. Then the Calgary Flames, the Edmonton Oilers, the Arizona Coyotes, and then the Vancouver Canucks. So that is the Pacific Division. Let's move on to the Central. And moving on to the Central, I'm going to try to make things move a little bit quicker. So if I miss a team, I'm sorry. That means I don't think that they're going to do as well as they probably would have hoped. One of which is the Blackhawks. I think that they have a lot of uncertainty, especially since last year the Central was deep and they finished last. So I don't see them making it. So we'll start with teams that I think will. The Dallas Stars are definitely going to contend for a spot. They have a great first line. You have Radulov, you have Tyler Seguin, and you have Jamie Benn. That line needs to produce. It kind of drops off from there. I like their defense. John Klingberg had a really great year last year. They're going to contend. That's all I'm going to say. Then we're going to have the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche had a surprising year last year for some. They finished last in the league the year before. I think that they will contend for a spot, definitely. Mikko Rantanen had a great year. You had guys like Nathan McKinnon, fantastic. I mean, he is a superstar, true superstar. I mean, you just watch his game. It's so good. They're going to contend. I like the young core. The goaltending is okay. You have Semyon Varlamov. It can be a good goaltender. You also have Philip Grubauer, who they just picked up. He helped the Caps get to the Stanley Cup final and win. So I see them as a solid wild card team. Hey guys, I actually do not have video footage for this one. I actually forgot to include them, but I am including them now for an important reason, and that's because they are a playoff contender. The Minnesota Wild could get a top 3 spot or possibly a wild card spot. This team, when it plays well, they're very good. They got eliminated first round by the Winnipeg Jets, but still a pretty good season last year. They have Devin Dubnyk, a lot of good players on there. They have Eric Stahl, they have Matt Dumba, Ryan Suter. I mean, there's just like, oh no, this is a depth team. But really, I saw a loss. Obviously they lost a lot on Alex Tuch and Eric Hall last season to the Knights. But this team is still very good, and they will contend for a spot if they play well. And the Central Division, the Western Conference this year is really tough. And, the NHL is a really competitive place, and the Wild are one of the better teams. Then we're going to move on to what I call the top 3. First, I'm saying this right now, believe me or don't, Winnipeg Jets, number 1. They could have the top scorer in the entire league in Patrick Laine. Depends what Ovechkin does, really. But Patrick Laine had a breakout year. He was like second in the league in goals, like 44 or something. I mean, what a great player. You have Connor Hellebuyck, a great goalie. Mark Scheifele, all-around great player. It's just so many pieces there that look so good. I think that they're going to do really well. Better than their third jersey looks. And hopefully they win games when they wear it, or then the team will have no reason to even sell it anymore. Anyway, I'm going to get distracted about jerseys. Anyway, I see the Jets being a number 1 team. Very close with the number 2 I'm going to call the Nashville Predators. The Predators were the President's Trophy winners last year. And you can say that the President's Trophy curse is real because literally they did get eliminated in the second round, like what happened to the Washington Capitals. Every time they won the President's Trophy, they got eliminated in the first or second round. So there you go. The Predators, though, I mean, Pekka Rinne is not going to get any younger. He's getting older. And once Pekka Rinne starts to decline, which he might be doing this season, they need to really look around. I think Jose Saros can be a starter. He hasn't had a chance to prove himself because of Pekka Rinne. But if Pekka goes down for an injury or he starts getting older, they're going to need to start relying on Saros a little bit more. I still think he could be a starter. They just need to give him some experience. So I'm hoping that they put him in for some games this season to see how he does. But still, Predators are a great team. They have Philip Forsberg, great player. Capitals should have never given him up, even though they still won the cup. They could have won it probably sooner if they would have kept him. And it was really a terrible trade because they didn't get anything for him. Philip Forsberg, great player. You have defense. I mean, Robin Josi, Ryan Ellis. This team is deep. Ryan Johansson at center. I think it's just a lot of players just working together. There isn't a true, really superstar other than Pekka Rinne and PK Subban. It's a lot of players that are just working together. There's no, I can't think of really, other than PK Subban in Pecorino. There's really no other like superstar, like huge guy. But really, I mean, I see that team just, when I look at a team like that, I think, wow, that team works really well together. And that's really what it is. And they had a great year last year. We'll have to see what happens this year. And in number 3, the St. Louis Blues. I mean, they had a great offseason this year. They picked up Ryan O'Reilly, Patrick Maroon. I like what they're doing. Because last year was kind of disappointing. They actually played a single game that decided whether it was going to be the Avalanche or the Blues. They lost. But yeah, Vladimir Tarasenko is always a scoring threat. Jake Allen has to play well. They need him to be really good because Carter Hutton moved on to Buffalo. They need Jake Allen to play really well. And if they do, I think that they could be number 3. I think with the offseason that they had, they're going to do really well. I see them making the playoffs for sure. That's all I'm going to say. So now we're going to move on to the Eastern Conference and start with the Metropolitan. Yeah, I know. I have a John Tavares jersey. I guess we'll start with the Islanders. They have a little bit of an issue. Their best player left. But hey, good news. You have Matthew Barzal. Matthew Barzal is a great player. I watched him last season. I remember I was watching Ducks versus Islanders. You just watch his explosive stride, the way he skates with puck. He's going to be the new superstar. He will be the new John Tavares there. He's not going to be as developed as John Tavares yet, obviously. That's why the Islanders will not be as good as they were last season, for sure. I mean, I don't see them making the playoffs at all. And really, this is the most I'm going to talk about a team that's not in the playoffs. They just really... Barry Trotz has to work to develop players like Barzal. And I think that they do have potential. They still can be an okay team. They just don't. Losing a guy like Tavares does not help. That's just all I'm gonna say. They're not gonna make the playoffs. Rangers are also rebuilding. This is the tank year for the Rangers, and every fan is known because they publicly announced it. And I really, really respect the Rangers for doing that, admitting, hey, we're gonna rebuild. This is for the better. Okay, and I'm really happy with what they're trying to do. They did it at a good time. Henrik Lundqvist, it's kind of sad to see him in this position because eventually they're going to be needing a new goalie. At the end of this rebuild, he probably will retire. And that's kind of sad. It's Henrik Lundqvist. He didn't get a cup. Unless he moves on to somewhere else, I think it's done for him. But that's all I'm going to say about non-playoff teams. In the Metropolitan, I'm going to go with the big 3 and possible wild card. Number 1, Washington Capitals. I was just watching the first period. I'm actually filming this after the first period of the Capitals-Bruins game, first game of the entire NHL season. They scored 2 goals in the first 2 minutes. I saw their offense. You have Alex Ovechkin, TJ Oshie, Nicholas Backstrom, Evgeny Kuznetsov, Orlov. It's a great team. I mean, come on. They won the Stanley Cup. Defending champion always has a lot to prove, and winning the division would prove that. Another team that's looking very hungry is this team, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Just listening to Evgeny Malkin's interview saying, what now? The most hated team in Pittsburgh, we want it back. They had a long summer to train, to think about it, and I think that the rest will probably help them, although I still see Washington finishing ahead. In the playoffs, which I'm not talking about, the Pittsburgh Penguins still have a chance to win another cup. But the Pittsburgh Penguins are a top 3 team for sure. They have a great lineup with Sidney Crosby. When you have 2 top 10 centers on your team, you have a great lineup. I don't care who you are, but Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby, then you have guys like Phil Kessel, great scorer, and a young guy like Jake Gensel, and a great goalie, Matt Murray. There's so many things that can go right with this team. Again, I will say it over and over again, this team is still definitely a contender. Carolina is a team in the Metropolitan that's kind of been working with their lineup. I think that they could contend for a wild card. Not more than that. I mean, on the low side. I mean, giving up Jeff Skinner was something that I guess had to be done. But they're just not quite there. Sebastian Aho is a great player. Their goalies are... That's the one thing I'm worried about. They need to work on their goaltending. And another team that made it last season that could contend for a spot, possibly, is the New Jersey Devils. They barely snuck in, but when you have a guy like Taylor Hall and Kyle Palmieri, Nico Hischier, there's a lot of young promise on this team, especially with a guy like Taylor Hall. Great goalie, Cole Snyder. I just think this team, I mean, what can I say? I mean, they're kind of middle of the road. They could get a spot. They might not. This is a team that I'm looking that a lot of people are going to be paying attention to. We won't know if they're actually going to make the playoffs until maybe a week before. So it's going to be really close. And the last team I'm going to be talking about in the Metropolitan, the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets are one of those teams where this year is something, they need to get something done this year. A team that hasn't gotten past the first round ever. I mean, they still have a good lineup. You have Artemi Panarin, good scorer. You have Cam Atkinson, great scorer as well. Good defense, Seth Jones, Zach Werenski. And then you have the goalie, the GOAT, Sergei Bobrovsky. Great goalie. I mean, you just watch him. I mean, I think he had the best save percentage in the whole league last year. And he's no stranger, I mean, anymore to the NHL. He's a great goalie. One problem, Artemi Panarin and Sergei Bobrovsky, both their contracts are going to run out. And it's looking like Artemi Panarin might be traded. And this is where I look at their lineup and think they need to do something with him now. And I personally, I just think that if they want to win, they need to win now. I don't see them being better than a number 3 spot. They're still a great team, but I don't know if I even see them winning the cup. This isn't a playoff video, but I'm just saying. It just really depends on what happens for the season. I still do see them in a top 3 spot. They'll be number 3. Let's talk about Gritty, a.k.a. the Flyers. Flyers have an interesting, creepy mascot that's just released. Yeah, there it is. I don't know. I mean, Claude Giroux, good player. Jacob Voracek, good player. Shane Gosser, good defenseman. I mean, this team did make it to the playoffs. Again, I see Columbus finishing ahead of them. This team had a lot to prove last year. They did make the playoffs. They did go up against their rival, the Penguins, and yes, they did lose. Again, I see a similar season for them this year. I don't see much more out of them. I see them being in a wild card spot again with a team like New Jersey, unless there is no wild card available for the Metropolitan teams this year based on what happens in the Atlantic Division. And now we're going to be moving on to the Atlantic. We're going to talk about a lot of teams in the Atlantic. There's 2 really superpower teams in the Atlantic this year that should be really fun to watch. So let's get to it right now. And I only have one team for the Atlantic, and that's the Ottawa Senators. This team, actually, I mean, it's pretty crazy, but I'm just going to get this out of the way right now and say they're not making the playoffs. They could be, I think that there will be last place in the division this year. This is the tank year again. It's pretty crazy that only 2 years ago they were actually Game 7, overtime, Eastern Conference Final. They were 1 goal away from the Stanley Cup. And so that was the goal by Chris Kunitz in that game that sent the Senators franchise into oblivion. It's pretty crazy, you know, how things change. I remember the start of the last season I said, this team, they're going to contend, you know, they're ready for this. Yeah, no. Shipping off Erik Karlsson was inevitable. I mean, they ended up getting rid of Mike Hoffman as well. I mean, this is their way of saying to the fans, yes, we're rebuilding. And really, the Senators' attendance isn't going to get any better. They're not going to move, though. I will say that. This is a Canadian team with an owner who can be stubborn at times, but he's not going to move. He's not going to move. And really, that's all I really need to say about them. This is the tank year. They're rebuilding, okay? So I'm just going to go into the super teams. So let's go into the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs I see as a team that has a lot more promise than the Tampa Bay Lightning for the future. This season, I mean, Tampa Bay is going to, I believe that they will finish ahead in the first spot. They have Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, great goal scorer, great defense, Victor Hedman. You have Ryan McDonough from the Rangers, Girardi. This team is stacked. I mean, come on. And they have Andrei Vasilevsky, which is a great goalie. But put Vasilevsky on any other team, maybe it wouldn't be as good. I'm just saying. They have really good defense there. But anyway, yeah, what else can I see? First place, super team. I'm going to go into the Maple Leafs. I think that the Maple Leafs have a lot more... I think that they're going to be better for longer is what I'm saying. They're young. They have Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander right now is a free agent. He's a restricted free agent. They haven't signed him to a contract. But I will mention he still technically is a Maple Leaf. So if he stays, even better because he's young. He's a really good player. I see him getting even better. And then you have my big boy, John Tavares. Wait 1 second. Yeah, John Tavares. So John Tavares is a Maple Leaf now. He does not wear the C. There's no captain on the Maple Leafs right now. But yes, John Tavares is a great, great player. And this is why I still think this team and Tampa Bay are going to be really close this year. These are both contenders. And I'm really excited to watch the Leafs this year. I think it's going to be a really good year for them. And again, I really see the top 3 spots of division. I mean, there's going to be... And you have another team, Boston Bruins. Now, this is my 3rd team. And this division is going to be so tough this year. At least between these 3 teams. Because the Boston Bruins... I mean, again, like, you have a good goal scorer like David Pastrnak. You also have another good goal scorer when he doesn't play dirty, Brad Marchand, and yeah, he's got to stop licking people. Yeah, well, I'm not even going to get into that. Then you have a good two-way center in Patrice Bergeron. Leadership by captain defenseman Zdeno Chara, and good young defensive core, Torrey Krug and Charlie McAvoy. It's another team that's going to be good for a while. I mean, it's really cool to see like a team like Boston, who actually won a cup in 2011. Most of the time, after that team kind of dies down, they've found a way to keep their team good, picking up these young guys, really big statement, and really you can tell that they're drafting well. They just are getting a great young core together, and I think that this team is going to stay good for, I mean, at least the next decade with a core like this. So yeah, there's Boston, but the team I really see being interesting this year to contend for a spot out of the Atlantic for the wild card is the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers are a team that last year barely missed. I mean, it was really close, and to see them claw their way back up was great. And I think that they'll be better this year. You have Barkov. He's a really good player. I think he's only going to get better. Again, this team is going in the right direction. Hopefully they fill more seats with a better team. I still think Florida could be a good market. Like, you look at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is just northwest in Florida, like maybe 2 or 3 hours away. And they sell out every night. Why can't Miami sell out? Well, I actually have an answer for that. Their arena is in Sunrise, which is actually like 30 minutes outside of Miami. But I'm still saying, if they get a really good team, I believe that Florida could become more of a hockey market. And when they made the Stanley Cup final, it sure was. So I really hope to see that Florida Panther team get like better and actually like see fans show up to games, because I know that if a team is good, the people will come. And I hope I see that with this team. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, guys, there's a lot of teams, though, in the Atlantic that are rebuilding. You have Detroit, who just lost Henrik Zetterberg. Big loss for them. A legend. I mean, it's so sad to see his career end like that. Buffalo Sabres just got Rasmus Dahlin. Really good defensive first overall pick defenseman. I do have some doubts about him. He's not, like, everyone hyped him to be one of the best defensemen instantly when he enters the league. I don't know. I mean, I still think he's going to be a really good defenseman. He could be, top pairing defenseman on a team, but he might not be the Erik Karlsson, that they want him to be. And especially, even if he will be, he's not going to be yet. He needs to develop a little bit more. But, we'll have to see. I mean, they're not a playoff team, but I like the direction that they're going with Jack Eichel. And I believe that they will be a playoff team in the next 5 to 6 years. They will be a playoff team. They have the young core. They're doing exactly what they should do, drafting well. And I hope the best for them. I still think that they can turn things around. Same thing with the Senators. They got to turn it around. But, there's a lot of teams that just aren't there. There's going to be a huge point gap between Florida, Boston, between Toronto and Tampa. I mean, there's going to be a huge point gap between all of them, and then the rebuilder teams, as I call them right now. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys are getting excited for the NHL season. It's started. It's official. Hockey is back, and I couldn't be more excited. It really, every time hockey season comes around, this is, other than summer, summer is without hockey. But then again, I'm not in school, so it's all good. But once I'm in school, I'm just waiting for hockey. I'm like, oh, when is hockey gonna come? And hockey is finally here. Hockey is back, and it's just enjoy it. Especially the start of the season is gonna be great, and I hope you guys will also enjoy the season. A lot of surprises along the way, and put down in the comments, who do you think will win the President's Trophy? I'm not gonna say my prediction, because I want you guys to go down in the comments. Let me know who you guys think will win the President's Trophy. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Smash the like button, subscribe down below, turn on the bell for more Hockey Bro videos. We don't just do NHL talk. In fact, most of the stuff we do is not like this. We do vlogs, hockey content, anything we want. We just put it up here. So I'm Jonathan, the Hockey Bro, and I'll see you guys in the next one. That's how you do it, Hockey Bro style. Peace out, guys.